You have to be able to make enough money to support yourself, to pay all your bills, pay your mortgage, pay your car, put food on the table, put your kids through college and like that. So you're a little concerned because if you don't run the business well, you're not going to make enough money. And if you don't make enough money, you're not going to be able to live properly, right? So you're very careful how you run the business, because if you don't run it well, it's going to be a big problem. So I was thinking, our life is like that. Our business is, we have to pay the bill of Krishna Prema. So we're trying to achieve Krishna Prema. And so one of the main ways we do that is through our japa every day. And we cannot afford to not chant good japa, because if we don't, we're not going to get Krishna Prema. So we have a certain length of time in our life. And so I think this rhetorical question is good to ask ourselves, do I have time to waste on bad japa? And when you think about it, you realize the path to loving Krishna is going to be long and somewhat difficult. And it's already long and difficult, so I don't need any more problems on the way. I don't need any more obstacles, right? I have to get there as directly and as quickly as I can. So therefore, I can't afford to just stop, stay overnight, go to a movie. I just have to keep going. So the same way in our life, can we really afford to chant bad rounds? And the answer is no, we can't, because we need every mantra to be good if we're going to develop love of Krishna. And every time it's not good, or every day our rounds are not good, that's a problem, because we cannot afford bad japa. Just like the businessman cannot afford to have a bad week, a bad month, he won't be able to pay his bills. We cannot afford bad japa. So I think that's a very important realization to take away from this workshop. You agree? Yeah. Yes. It can help you a lot when you're chanting your japa every morning, and sometimes you're having difficulty. Just ask yourself, can I afford these bad rounds? And the obvious answer is no, I can't. So as you can see, my t-shirt says, when I chant, I chant. And this phrase came from my personal experience and the experience of other devotees, that when we chant, sometimes we're not chanting even though it looks like we're chanting. We're actually doing something else. I think we talked about this enough yesterday, and that we can understand. What we mean is not that you're not chanting physically, but you're not chanting in your heart, you're not connected, and your mind is somewhere else. And Ayurveda says something interesting. You are actually not, according to Ayurveda, you are not necessarily sitting in a temple in, what is this area called? Vishalnagar? Vishalnagar. You are not necessarily sitting in a temple in Vishalnagar. How is that? Because Ayurveda says you are where your mind is. That's where you are. So if your mind is not in Vishalnagar, you're not here. If your mind is in Vrindavan, you're in Vrindavan. If your mind is in Delhi, you're in Delhi. If your mind is in New York, you're in New York. Wherever your mind is, that's actually where you are. So we can be chanting Hare Krishna, and it looks like we're chanting, and our mind is somewhere else, and so we're not actually at Krishna's lotus feet, or at someone else's lotus feet, or someone's feet who are not, we're somewhere, I don't know. If you're at someone else's lotus feet, that's also good. Nityananda's feet, yeah, all right. And here's something really paradoxical and ridiculous to think about, and it's one of the places we are at when we're chanting is just, we're just thinking about what we have to do in our life. And what's so paradoxical about it is that The highest perfection of chanting japa is to be absorbed in Krishna Lila. To see the Lila. Of course, you can't see the Lila until you can see the Lila. But to be absorbed in the Lila, this is the chanting of the pure devotee. And not only that, further advanced is that not only do they see the Lila, but they're actually acting within the Lila while they're chanting. Could you imagine that? You're chanting and you're like in some Lila with Krishna, Radha. Wow, amazing, right? So here's the paradox. So often when we're distracted by what we're doing in our life, and we're thinking about all the things we have to do, even if it's seva. It's centered around us, right? I have to do this today. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And I'm chanting Krishna, but I'm thinking about what I have to do in 3 hours. So I'm not here in Vishal Nagar in the Sri Nityananda Gaurachandra Vijay Nitya Gaurachandra temple. I'm in my office right now. Although my body looks like it's in the temple, my mind's in the office, and I'm thinking about all these things I have to do. Correct? Sahi hai? Sahi hai or nahi hai? Yeah. So here's the supreme paradox of this. And this, of course, as we know, when we talk about distraction, this is the main distraction. It's just we're thinking about our problems and things we have to do, how we're going to do it. We're thinking about next week, we're going to go here and go there, or whatever you're thinking about. But it's all centered on us, isn't it? Like me and what I have to do and my problems and why did this have to happen and I want this. And so whose Leela are we meditating on? It's kind of like the Ahamkara Leela. Instead of meditating on Krishna Leela, we're meditating on our Leela while chanting Hare Krishna. That's sad. Don't you think that's sad? I mean, we're meditating on our Leela all day. You would think at least for 2 hours we would stop thinking about ourselves, especially because we're chanting Hare Krishna. But sometimes, even during that 2 hours, we're thinking more about ourselves than Krishna. Isn't it? So it's a real paradox. So when we say, when I chant, it means that time when you chant, it's you and it's Krishna. Not you in relation to all the things you have to do today, but it's you in relation to Krishna, who He is, Namarupa Guna Lila. Sounds easier than it is to do, right? But I want to facilitate now a meditation where we're going to chant. We're going to follow this principle. When I chant. And so what are we going to do? We are going to try right now to see if we can actually chant and not be absorbed in anything else. So how are we going to do this? But we're going to have to practice a little bit. And so what we want to do, or what I would suggest doing or ask you to do is, I want you to meditate when we begin our chanting that Krishna is in His name. And you don't have to realize this, because you can't realize this until you're pure enough to realize it. But you can understand it. And you can approach the name as Krishna. So that's what I'm asking you to do. We're going to be chanting and we're going to be thinking, Krishna is here in His name. And as we said last night, there's you and there's Krishna and there's a relationship, right? It's not fully manifest, but when you chant, there's a relationship. You are chanting. Krishna's manifest in your chanting. He's present there, so it's just you and Him. There's nothing else going on. So this is what we're going to try to do. We're going to try to meditate as we're chanting, and we're going to be praying to become pure devotees while we're chanting to Krishna. But we're going to meditate on that all that exists during this japa session is me and the holy name in relationship. There's nothing else. So our life, off. Our worries, off. Our minds, off. The only thing is the holy name. I am praying to the holy name, and Krishna's there. And that's it. That's all there is. And that's what it means when I chant, I chant. Now, is there any guarantee you're going to do this or do it well? We can only try. But I can suggest that just keep reminding yourself that Krishna is here right now. And I have a relationship with the holy name. If you need to remind yourself, if you lose your focus on this, remind yourself. And now that it's just you and Krishna, you can tell Krishna whatever you want to tell him. And how do you tell him? Through your heart, through your prayer. Krishna, please, blank. You fill in the blanks. Krishna, please. So Krishna's there, nobody else, just us. Or you can just appreciate. You can just chant and appreciate. Krishna has appeared in the holy name. This morning I was saying something. I'll mention this because it'll help us. That when devotees do puja, like you remember last night I was saying, when devotees pray, nobody says, how do I pray and hear and control my mind? No one asks that question. They don't ask that question about puja. Prabhu, when you do puja, how do you focus on your deity? I've never heard anyone ask that question because it's natural, right? If you go on the altar, if you're a Brahmin and you go on the altar, it's like, oh, I'm on the altar, I'm with Krishna. And we say, we want you to bathe the deities. Oh, it's like, it's a focus, it's a meditation, right? Why is it such a meditation, whereas when we chant, it's not such a meditation? And why do devotees ask questions like, Prabhuji, can I listen to a class while I chant japa? What kind of meditation is that? All right, I'll ask you a question. When you go to college and your teacher's giving a class, can you listen to another class in your headphones? Like that's a stupid question. Like, why would you do that? When my friend comes over for lunch, Prabhuji, is it okay if I listen to a class while they're there, while we're talking? I'm like, why would you want to do that? So somehow or other, we've got this idea that the holy name isn't Krishna. But we know the deity is Krishna, at least theoretically, so we just do better with the deity in our focus. Of course, you can listen to a class while you're doing deity worship because you're not chanting, but you know what I'm saying. When it comes to deity, it's like, yeah, that's the deity. So I don't have this, my mind, and I'm not thinking about my shopping list and my office work. I'm just focused on the deity. So I think part of the problem is we don't accept that when I'm chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna's there and just a deity is of sound. It's a more subtle element, but it's a deity. Nonetheless, it's a deity. You can have a deity of sound. If you have a deity of wood or metal or stone, why can't you have a deity of sound? They're all material elements. It's just subtle, right? So that's part of the problem. You agree? Yeah, it's a noticeable difference. So if we can understand, we have this deity, and we're going to chant now, and this deity is going to be there, and we're going to be, it's just us and the deity, like you would be just you and the deities when you do puja. So you want to try that? Just remind yourself, this name is Krishna, I'm with Krishna, I can open my heart, I can pray to Krishna. He's there, it's just me and Krishna. When we chant, what are we going to do? Whose Leela are we going to meditate on? Vrindavan Leela or office Leela? Vrindavan Leela or shopping list Leela? Vrindavan Leela or to-do list Leela? See what you can do. I want to tell you a story that'll help you. You may have heard that the first deities in ISKCON were Jagannath deities, and they were found at an Indian import store, kind of like people would buy these things and put them on their, just put them as decorations. So Lord Jagannath came to America as a decoration for somebody's dining room or something. But because they came from India, the devotees thought, if anything comes from India, it's transcendental. Seriously, that's how we thought. India is like Krishna conscious country. So if it's Indian, we should just do it. So it's like it said, made in India. So Malati got these deities. She had no idea what they were. And she said, Prabhupada, what is this? It's made in India. What is it? And Prabhupada paid obeisances. He said, oh, Jagannath has come. She only got Jagannath, and he said, well, was there anybody else? And she said, yeah, there were 2 others. So Prabhupada said, get those. And then he said, oh, yeah, Prabhupada took it that Jagannath wanted to come. So he said, is there anybody who could carve them larger, like this size? And Malati's husband, Shyamasundar, could do it. So he carved Jagannath deities. So this is maybe like 2 years after the movement started, something like 2 years, with people in the West who have absolutely zero experience with deity worship. For a Westerner, deity worship is the most awkward, foreign, unusual thing imaginable. Like that there's actually a person in this wood, and you're going to bathe this person, you're going to give them mouthwash, you're going to wake them up, put them to sleep, feed them. It's like, okay. All right. Yeah. We had absolute faith in Prabhupada. So if Prabhupada said, this is Krishna, it's Krishna. And Prabhupada said, this is Krishna, you have to bathe him, dress him like that. In the beginning, no one, like if we told that to you, you would say, yeah, because you grew up with that. So it's not like a big shift for you. For you to become devotees, culturally, there's very little shift you make, if any. For a Westerner to become a devotee, it's all cultural shifts. Everything, the dress, the food, the deities, the kirtan. We didn't grow up with any of this. Zero. So it's like huge, huge shifts. Which is why in the West sometimes devotees say, and we're doing preaching programs, don't wear dhoti, don't wear this, that, because nobody's used to it. It's like they have to jump through so many hoops to become devotees. They have to go from pasta to, spicy dal, and a lot of people like it. They like Indian, they like that, but it could be difficult. So that's like a huge shift. Now Prabhupada said, this is Krishna, worship him as Krishna. And so that's what the devotees did. And then gradually the devotees understood that Krishna is there through the service. So how this relates to us is, if I tell you Krishna's in the holy name, you'll say, yeah, if that's true, how is it possible that I'm bored or I fall asleep or I'm distracted? Then I say, okay, just as these devotees could not see Jagannath in the deity, but on Prabhupada's word, they treated Jagannath as Krishna, and thereby were able to realize that Jagannath is Krishna because they had that attitude. We can accept that Krishna is in his name, even if we can't realize it, treat his name as him, and chant that way, and gradually we will realize it. That's all we can do. Prabhupada said something really interesting, because whenever Prabhupada said Krishna and his name are not different, my intelligence would go, I can't understand. Like, how can a sound be a thing? How can a sound be a person? So the intelligence, I could never, it's like, I could explain it to people, but even when I was explaining it, I'd be thinking, that doesn't make any sense. If you say water, you'll just get thirsty. But if you say Krishna, he's there. Okay. That's the philosophy. I can repeat it. It makes sense, but it doesn't make sense in terms of our experience. Does it? A person is fully present in a sound? Like, how does that work? And then you hear things like, there is no difference between Krishna's personal presence and Srimad Bhagavatam. And I'm thinking, well, if I had a choice, I'd take Krishna's personal presence, wouldn't you? And Prabhupada's saying, no different. No, if you fall asleep reading Bhagavatam, Krishna walk in your house, you'll fall asleep also when you see him. You won't realize him. So then I came across something Prabhupada said. And Prabhupada said, you cannot intellectually understand that Krishna is non-different from his name, form, guna, and lila. You cannot intellectually understand it. It's not going to make sense to your intellect. A sound is a thing. And you chant Hare Krishna, and I go, how was that? And you're like, it's okay. You know. And that's supposed to be Krishna, and Krishna is only okay. And so all we can do, Prabhupada said, you have to accept it in theory. That's all we can do. Krishna is in his name. And I am now going to chant, we're all going to chant, and we're going to treat Krishna in his name as Krishna. And we're just going to meditate on, it's just me and Krishna and nothing else. So when I chant, that's all we're going to do is chant. There's nothing else going on. You do not exist anymore. Your life is dead for the next 5 minutes. Can you kill your life for the next 5 minutes? Can you kill your leelas for the next 5 minutes? Your leela, dhyana leela, aham dhyana leela? Or how do you say I in what's I in Hindi? May ahankara leela bas. Punch minute, ek punch minute. If you want to meditate on your leela after 5 minutes, you have my permission. You can make that decision. But at least for 5 minutes, we're going to meditate on my relationship with Krishna. Right? It's me and Krishna, there's a relationship. Let's try it. Let's see what happens. Okay? If you forget, just remind yourself. It's just me and Krishna. So if you did that well, and you weren't thinking about anything other than just trying to focus on chanting as best you can, then that's really good. And that's the way you're supposed to do it every day. So, just as you would give your full attention to a guest, when we chant, we're meant to give our full attention to Krishna. And don't you think it's nicer to give our attention to Krishna than to give attention to all our anxieties and worries? And yes? So, if you were able to do this well, you definitely experience this is better than thinking about my life, right? And if you weren't able to do it well, just keep trying to push your life out of the way, because your life is an interference to your meditation, because you're not meditating on yourself. This is not Soham Asmi meditation, right? We don't do that meditation. I am that. If I am God, then yes, if you meditate on all your problems, you're meditating on God. Right? But we're not God, so, right. Okay? So now I want to do